ZamPulse Chats, where we're broadening the scope of Zambian entrepreneurship. My name is Tchiyiwe Chihana, and this program is produced by Ungano Events Management. Today, I'm really delighted to be in studio at the amazing Financial Insight Zambia establishment. And I'll be speaking to somebody who's always on my side of the chair, and he's on the other side, Mwelwa Chibesakunda, the founder and CEO of Financial Insight Zambia. Welcome to ZamPulse Chats.
Tchiyiwe, thank you so much for having me.
Lovely having you. I mean, you're so well branded.
Yes, I know, and I wore this especially for you, to just show you how seriously we take the brands that support us.
All right.
Yeah.
A very different Mwelwa Chibesakunda that I have known personally since our days in Cape Town.
I know.
But you have grown, you have evolved, and you've established Financial Insight Zambia. I wondered whether you could just give us a little bit of insight into the early influences that brought you to where you are.
Right. Tchiyiwe, thank you so much. You know, the story itself was born out of curiosity. What was very interesting was that despite, me fighting my parents to do computer science, which I did my undergrad at Copperbelt University, what was very clear earlier on, well, not so clear, was my curiosity for business. Mm-hmm. So here I am on a computer science course, and me being envious of my friends who were able to interpret the stuff that was in The Economist magazine. Copperbelt University did have a library that had it was subscribed to The Economist, and I was always very curious to just go in and read those stories without fully understanding business. Mm-hmm. What was interesting earlier on was when the course on entrepreneurship, which was in our fourth year, was brought up, I was actually more keen on it than computer programming. I finished the program. After that, started my career as a network engineer for Coppernet Solutions. Mm-hmm. I had a chance to work with certain corporates that were in the financial space. Always very eager to go and check in on those assignments. Not so much for.
So this was your IT gig, taking you to other corporate spaces.
Absolutely. Okay. And this was on the Copperbelt.
Yeah.
And after 2 years, I decided, look, I need to go back and just beef up on my, my computer programming, software development skills. So that's how I signed up for the UCT program, the master's program, which also had me take on undergrad courses, and that's how we got to meet in beautiful Cape Town.
Yeah.
What was, again, very interesting was my interest in the business sort of related courses then. So the master's program at UCT not only prepared you to being a hardcore software developer, it also prepared you for actually being in business, on entrepreneurship. So there was a course which was, again, now, made available to us. And, my enthusiasm around that was very, very high.
Yeah.
To the point where, yes, afterwards I did some work in Cape Town before coming back to Zambia, where subsequently joined Zesco as a software developer under the IT department, helping the human resource and payroll information system.
I always wondered what you were doing at Zesco.
Yeah,
so that's what it was.
So trust me, and it was quite interesting because before then I did a little bit of a stint with a mobile, and that's how I got introduced to the whole mobile telecom e-commerce sort of side of it. I was a technical manager for a little company that unfortunately just transitioned into something else. But it was then when I started my career at Zesco that over time there's that lingering thing where in the back of your mind you say you're not complete as a professional. So a lot of people don't know this, but I did sign up for the ACCA diploma program. Paid £500.
Wow.
Tchiyiwe, that's it's a £500, which sadly, 6 months into the program, ACCA Global scraps it, and they insist that all of us have to do mainstream. Now you can imagine, I've just come back with my master's degree from University of Cape Town, and I'm thinking to myself, do I now need to add on more? So at the time, even financially, it wasn't so bad, but I was still very curious. Anyway, 2012 was the pivotal moment where I had the opportunity to study at Manchester Business School.
Okay, yeah.
And even then I'm thinking.
Okay, so that was definitely a degree that was after your heart.
Correct.
Rather than just a career thing.
Absolutely. Yeah. When I remember the first day when we went for the orientation program, and credit to the Alliance Manchester Business School team, who for creating that program, because truth be told, in terms of the sort of professional attention shift, I can describe it. I was sold from day one.
So
the moment
that's the transformation
exactly,
moment.
yeah.
Okay.
I think if you ask any of my peers that I was with on the MBA program, I took it very personal because I think there was a lot of stuff that were happening like in the background in my professional life that were kind of indicating that, look, I'm almost at the end of life for that bit, that chapter of my professional career. Doing the MBA was now, this breath of fresh air, but then it gave me the opportunity now to get some of those questions answered. The curiosity that I'd built over years now, trying to understand, business. Okay. What makes businesses tick?
Should we just, so what, did you actually come back to work for the corporate world in Zambia? I know you started out as a blog.
Yes.
But did you come back to work in the corporate world?
So and this obviously now leads to the beginning of my journey now, on the finance side, because, the blog I started was pretty much at the tail end of the MBA program. I had learned so much on the program, and, like I mentioned, like the orientation of the MBA, one of the things Xavier Duran, and credit to him, said to us, he was the program coordinator for the Global MBA, was that he told us that, look, guys, we do not expect you guys to be doing the same thing after 2 to 3 years upon completion of this program.
Oh, wow.
But then all of us were oblivious, like,
what does this actually
because
mean?
Many of us, some of my peers were doing this to further enhance, maybe get a promotion. For me, it was born out of like curiosity about businesses. But then there were certain things that we were taught about studying environments, which opened up a whole new space. I'm still a huge fan of the FT, Bloomberg. That's like my daily bread.
You've actually said to me before, like Bloomberg is the blueprint.
It is the blueprint, and I am a Bloomberg Africa Media Initiative graduate, the first cohort in Zambia.
Oh, great.
When I finished the MBA program, obviously now I'm like, look, I've now gotten this degree. What do I do with myself? And what occurred to me was that, look, I read so many case studies, so many newspaper articles in international print on listed businesses. Yeah. But I could hardly find anything about Zambian companies, not even in the local papers.
No.
Now, I'm thinking to myself, the MBA has equipped me with a toolkit. Why not I apply this toolkit to tell stories about Zambian businesses? And it just so happened, and by coincidence, we just dropped the Zambia Breweries interview with Theatus. It's Zambia Breweries became the first listed company I blogged about.
Okay.
And I remember it was a Friday afternoon.
Yeah.
I was getting ready now to go have drinks with the guys. And I just applied this toolkit. And it's the most simplistic MBA toolkit that just, you have your financials there and just trying to interpret like what the business is doing, how the business is performing, what the strategy is. And I had this write-up, which I then now threw to, I think it was my LinkedIn at the time. And without thinking much about it, came back on Monday, I had so many views.
Right.
And
comments and feedback and engagement, really,
and at that time, and this is just basically mostly my friends. So it's like, no, this is pretty cool. But I must also admit that, yes, I was a bit loud when I was doing my MBA, in the sense that my Facebook had posts of showing how enthusiastic I was on the program. I think you remember that.
I do. But do you know whether you considered your interest as in this area, whether you considered that to be an entrepreneurship journey, or was it just you taking a big interest in that world?
It had nothing to do with entrepreneurship. In fact, if anything, I mean, even in the earlier stages,
you just stumbled upon it.
I just stumbled upon it. It was a hobby because now you're thinking, I've gotten this qualification. Yes, I am still on the IT end, but then how do I then now apply it? But aside from that, when I was done with the program, I was very certain in terms of, and credit to, Zesco, that company, pretty much contributed a lot in terms of my career shift as well, because I moved from the information systems department to business development, which became
within the ranks.
Yes, exactly. And
Zesco.
this was literally at the tail end of the MBA. I applied and I got accepted. I joined. There was a bit of a rebuild in the business development team, and I joined as one of the business development analysts. And that was how my exposure around that, as well as being able to apply everything that I learned on the MBA, pretty much started.
Okay.
For the first time, I actually found purpose.
Oh,
I
wow.
really found in my professional
You were
life.
engrossed in it. Yeah.
So whilst I'm doing this work, I'm still like nurturing this baby who I really don't know where it's going to go, but I'm having such a great time. So I gave myself a challenge of like analyzing all the listed companies. It was a self-discovery process because then now I discovered how some companies were not really sharing their information. It wasn't readily available.
And these are Zambian companies.
These are Zambian listed companies, yeah.
So in hindsight, do you realize that the whole concept of entrepreneurship is noting a gap and filling that gap? So you literally did step into entrepreneurship because the gap you saw was Zambian companies.
Without realizing that I was, and credit to my very good friend Roman Mkendi, who I teamed up with to launch the company, and he's like, Mwelwa, I think you're onto something. Not too sure what it is, but you know what? I think there could be something there. For me, I was just so driven. Like, look, if I could create a body of work that shows, how listed companies in Zambia are performing, etc., could be the one that, like people then go to. But then again, it did require some sort of credibility. Because remember, I built a career around IT.
Absolutely.
A lot of my peers knew me as this IT guy, but then now, all of a sudden, he's a business analyst. So for some, it was a little bit, like different. And I think you remember at UCT, yes?
Yeah.
Computer science lab, etc. So I still had that, like if I can say, maybe hangover, if I can call it that. Like a lot of people actually felt that I was still, an IT person. But I was very driven with my passion to continue to just analyze and, credit to social media as well. That allowed me, and I do remember there were actually periods of time where I literally blocked out any of my social sort of posts that were showing me enjoying life. I just became this guy who was just, analyst that was, and it slowly washed away that old image of me being, like this, this IT guy to what would eventually become, the Financial Insight founder,
Exactly. And Financial Insight has become a monster that we didn't see coming, and well done to you.
Thank you.
But what is its foundational principle? What is it?
Okay, so very simply, at the core of what we started the journey for was to be able to demystify capital markets.
Great.
Making them accessible to everybody. Needless to say, I talked about the FT, Bloomberg, etc. These are all subscription-based platforms.
Absolutely.
But understanding that there is a gap in Zambia, I understood, like, look, if I introduce a paywall, for example, from the very beginning, for starters, at the time, the LUSE are struggling to get more people not only participating, but even interested in investing in capital markets. At the time, I mean, even the number of instruments was fewer than what we have today. I mean, you've got like a capital markets master plan that's obviously, boasting of, introduction of new instruments. We just saw green bonds come on board. But at the time, a lot of that wasn't there. And I understood earlier on, and obviously thanks to the Bloomberg program, because that enabled me now to find a business model that works through obviously discovery. I knew then that, look, I think the direction of information dissemination was the way to go because we were creating a product.
So did the Bloomberg program come before you became intentional about making this a business or after?
So the Bloomberg program came after, but even then, it was I'll say it was a proverbial side hustle, but even it was a side hustle I never really took. I was passionate about writing, blogging, but without realizing, I actually started applying some of the MBA principles. So I'll give you an example. We're writing for a year, and all of a sudden, we decide, look, let's do a website, register the company, and then we decide, look, let's do a launch for the website. It's never been done before. Wow. Trust me, I've done quite a few things that have never been done before. And I'm thinking, who's going to sponsor the launch of a website? But I'm like, look, this is not like any other kind of website.
Yeah.
At the back of it, what a lot of people didn't realize was that I was looking at the numbers on my blog. We did over 8,000 unique views of the articles that I published on my personal blog, which motivated to say, look, I'm growing my LinkedIn. I could push a lot of traffic towards this. The first time we went into event management, which we are now in, this year we launched like the workshop series based on the experience that we learned from hosting an event and being able to bring together various brands. That was now my first taste of like sort of like commercial activity around it. Needless to say, we went another 6 months without an invoice.
Okay.
But it's still a side hustle.
Hold. Before you go further, I want to hear about who that first entity was that sponsored the website.
Absolutely.
Launch.
So I am writing, and Shukran Lovu, HLB,
great,
sent me a message.
Wow.
And truth be told, I have him and Jason Kazlimani because when I think of HLB and KPMG, those guys were believers.
They believed.
Shuko's message was very simple. I see you. This thing could go far. So, sure, I had no idea. At that point, I'm not thinking media machine or anything like that. I'm like, okay, I think I'm doing something right. But again, self-discovery.
Yeah.
So when the opportunity now for the launch of the first website came in, Shuko didn't skip a beat. He just said, yes, I'll put in some money. And I'm like, okay. I approached the next, because we had 4 companies. We had a bank there. And interesting, we had 2 listed companies support us. And then you've got HLB. And I'm thinking, wow, okay, interesting.
Yeah.
So that was like the first time I tasted, commercial blood, if I can call it that.
There was that belief. What you had put out there gave people belief. They
Correct.
believed in your work.
Absolutely. I think, truth be told, I mean, look, I'm a little bit eccentric because I get obsessed with, zoning into the work that I do. But I think when I took a step back, I could understand where they were coming from because, yes, we were pioneers in doing the kind of things that we were doing, in as much as we didn't really know what sort of business model will work. But just by the mere fact, and I think for me, consistency has always been very important.
Right.
If you ask any of my team members, I bang on about consistency. Regardless of whether you're a 40 percentile or 100 percentile level performer, consistency makes the difference. And you can imagine being able to write capital markets articles, not making any money, just doing it out of passion, and every week releasing an article. And trust me, I mean, look, there was a lot of things going on in my personal life, as well as my sort of corporate sort of journey that, again, and I saw this before because I did ask, a dear friend of mine, like, look, you started up a publication many years before, which was on finance. What made you fail? Or why did you stop? And, he explained to me, and what I picked out very quickly was consistency. Now, my consistency obviously also comes from my academic sort of background. There were things in my undergrad that, there was a point in time, because remember, the curious Mwelwa was not certain about the course that he was doing. In fact, there was a dear friend of mine, he actually told me, Mwelwa, you used to be the lead, first year through second year. We don't know what happened to you in third year. Because all of a sudden I went from being an A-star student to like a B student. Because at that point I just...
The interest has dwindled.
Exactly. But remember I said, consistency, whether you're a C or B performer. I came out with all Bs in my third year, but then I kind of picked myself up in the final year.
Okay.
It taught me so look, you just get the job done. So later on, I think that was a very important trait for me to actually have because I wasn't influenced by money. I was influenced and when I think about it now, just being a change maker that was able to provide this information, which was so difficult for people to read. I mean, what was also very interesting during my MBA program was I learned a lot about myself in terms of where my strengths are. And the storytelling component, I scored very high in blogging.
Great.
Shocking. Yeah. So you can imagine, already I'm informed about myself. I know myself better. And I know where I need to focus my attention. And I guess over time, these things just, pick up.
So I'm hearing from you, I'm hearing consistency, I'm hearing self-discovery, and I'm also hearing gaps, identifying gaps and filling those gaps. Can we talk capital markets a little bit? Can you demystify a few things for us?
Yeah.
How should SMEs think about the Lusaka Securities Exchange?
Okay.
Because that's...
You know what, this question comes at a very important moment in this country. Just to put it in perspective, I finally did the interview with Campbell of .com Zambia.
Oh, absolutely. Well done to him, by the way.
You know, and credit to what him and his team have actually done.
Yeah.
Just his story alone, I think is a story that many Zambian businesses should actually read, follow, watch.
Yeah.
Because I think he's been able to show us the possibilities of what capital markets can actually do. I obviously look at capital markets very, very differently. I understand why companies list. I understand perfectly why .com Zambia listed. And, you know, even in asking him the questions I asked him, you know, they tick the box in everything that I believe that they wanted to aspire to.
Yeah.
You know, when it comes to things like business structuring, having systems in place, I think the benchmark that capital markets sets, and this was also part of the motivation for starting the blogging, etc. I wanted to learn about how established companies that have been in existence for the longest time, why they're able to continue being in business, why they're able to continue being going concerns. Capital markets allowed me access to getting behind it, because if a company doesn't list, there's no publicly available information. Hell, you can't even participate as a shareholder. What we did in the earlier stages of Financial Insight was we invested in 5 companies. We knew that, look, yes, we wanted to be able to attend those annual general meetings, so I'll attend them myself. And cheeky me, I would actually even like raise my hand when it was Q&A. And you know, I do remember, I think it was like the board chair at Zambia Sugar. Yeah. Every time he would see me there, it's like, oh my Lord, please don't ask difficult questions. But what that did, and proudly I must say that I actually appeared in the Zambia Sugar, you know, annual report when I asked the question. But you know what this did, and the feedback that I got from people that were following us were like, we now understand these companies better. Business owners actually reached out and said, dear Lord, you explained capital allocation, capital sourcing in a way that we never thought, you know, would be possible. Yeah. I mean, just a basic example for you. Working capital management 101. If you're able to borrow from the bank, get an overdraft. Don't get a loan. Subtle things like that. I was able to expose that, and I also learned and applied them in the company. The point is that cheaper financing is overdraft. So sorry to the banks, but you know, this is, but then many SMEs don't know that. Then it also taught me the importance of consistency in your reporting, annual reporting, making sure your books are in order, because that now gives credibility. I mean, some of the conversations I've had with some of our partner banks, I always go prepared. But then I have read the notes in the annual report of the listed company. I have read the section of the CFO. I know exactly what the CFO is doing. Apply it to what I'm doing at FI. It's given us that boost and access to certain things that in the past would never really be able to access had we not followed a capital markets listed entity.
Okay, so yeah, brilliant. I feel like I'm also learning actually something.
Absolutely.
So apart from the structures, I think structures, you've emphasized on have structures in place, or at least build them as you go. Make sure you just have structures. What else would you suggest SMEs need to be investor ready? Because I feel like this is what is important that you're saying about what .com Zambia have done.
Correct, yeah. Okay, so, you know, one, and I like to use the most recent one because I think the .com Zambia story is one that's you know, been, you know, ubiquitously made available. Consistency in the story. And being able to tell the story honestly. I have realized over time that even, I mean, this is from sitting in annual general meetings, looking at the reaction of shareholders. I always like to tell the Zambia Sugar story that, you know, we bought shares when the list, and look, I'm not an investment advisor. I'm not encouraging people to buy you know, Zambia Sugar shares, but we did it to track the story. In the earlier days, just when they were doing a particular, you know, a capital-intensive project, the share price was fairly low. They were not even paying dividends. But every, you know, annual general meeting that I went to, I could tell that, look, the company was, you know, progressing. And when they finally did declare the dividend, and even subsequently them reaching $1 billion kwacha profit after tax, there was this whole body of a company that went from a huge capex investment project. and this project now being completed, and then now turning the tide and being able to grow. There was a lesson there. For us, and this is why, like, even with Financial Insight, reinvesting in the business, very important. Building up your capex, your capital base in terms of equipment, very, very important, because that's how you're able to, to grow and be able to be agile, deploy yourself, because media requires us to be like everywhere, so we're having to reinvest a bit. So that's one of the key things that I learned a lot, and which I feel like a lot of SMEs can actually take a leaf of. We might not have every industry represented on the Luce, but I think in terms of the top tier, we've got mining companies, we've got agri companies, pretty much, and the banking, financial services company. Now you've obviously got .com, which is tech, tech as well. I think there's a lot of key lessons for SMEs that they could actually pick up, because also, I think for me, what was also resonated was understanding at what point you are in the journey. Yeah. Because some mature companies, are at a certain level where, reinvesting is not so much, but now they want to, reward the people that have, believed in the company. Others who are seeing the growing opportunity, if it's agri space, you look at Zambia, for example. Yeah. They've also got a capital project, population increase, etc. Being able to understand and read what's in the environment, how the market is looking, and where it's actually going, and you would influence. Towards it. But imagine where you're able to tell that story in a simplistic way. I think one of the things that I've noted is that because we've been able to tell these stories and share them, several businesses we've spoken to say they've picked up one or two things, and I think they've also given them confidence in terms of what could be. I have had businesses that I've spoken to who never thought they could, I gave the example of an overdraft. And, when I asked them simple questions, like, did you do this? Did you do that? Even there's, oh my God, you know what? We should have actually done that. Yeah. Now some of them are finding themselves, ready for that. And yes, I also do take these conversations to the banks. Good. I mean, if you ask my bankers, I'm probably like one of the cheekiest CEOs they've ever met. Because I push back. I was like, look, I'm not going to grow my business if you guys don't give me finance. But teach me, tell me what I need to do to tick the box.
In order to meet the criteria.
To meet the criteria. Yeah. And 9 out of 10 times you'll find that, it's just simple things. Yeah. All they're asking for is just very simple things. But yes, it can be painful. And yes, I think even for some of the banks that I've dealt with, they've also been learning, because they've not really been accustomed to small businesses being, ticking all the boxes. But there's a change in the tide right now that I've been able to see.
Do you have a view then on the newly established, or not so newly anymore, the ministry that's dedicated to SMEs?
SMEs, yes.
Do you have a view in
Yes, I actually do. I've had several chats actually with the minister. He's a very nice guy. He's very determined in terms of, pushing the agenda for SMEs. And he shows up. He shows up not just for launches, but everything that's been critical. Yeah. I often feel that countries actually need to be very deliberate. And kudos to, the government for actually being very deliberate there. It is still early stages, so maybe certain wins might have not yet been recorded. But if we give them time, and if we're deliberate and intentional, I think much can be achieved. My advice to other SMEs is to get involved. Get involved. I mean, we're involved. We've committed to them. So look, whenever you guys have events, please do call us. We expose what's actually going on. There's a lot of legislation that has been passed. I think you've probably heard about local content. Yeah. It is a Ministry of Mines pushed, but then SMEs as well are also involved there. It's subtle things like that where, I mean, for us, we know what the responsibility is as media to expose that, so that entities, small business can actually find out, learn more, and take advantage of those opportunities. So having a ministry dedicated to that was a good thing. Exactly. So execution now becomes even more important. But I feel
people feeding in more as well, engaging with
and giving them feedback in terms of what's not working or where the gaps are. Because I know, for example, the biggest issue is the number of licenses, for example, that businesses are, are subjected to. You've got the ministry now to say you can bang on and say, guys, what do we do? Because these are pain points. We're not able to grow these businesses.
Yeah. Something interesting that you said to me last week when we were just having a chat was about your growth. We were looking at how it's scaled as Financial Insight and the sorts of clients you work with, partners. And then you told me something about how you are starting again to go back to smaller organizations because you think everybody should be platformed in that way. I feel like that's a story you should share with people as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Credit to the various partners. Some of them are, on my
Highly
shirt.
visible.
We would not be able to have done what we've done without these partners. And some required a lot of convincing. Others, believed us from the get-go. But what that has obviously done is, and we always said this, that look, if we grow the business well enough, media is such a vast space.
Yeah.
We see a huge opportunity in not only SME empowerment, but I like to think of it as SME media, where the business stories are actually told. I talked about the Ministry of SMEs. They will not know what problems that small businesses are going for if we're not consistent in telling the story of the challenges of SMEs. Media becomes an extremely powerful tool, and one of the conversations that I have, like with small businesses, the platform is there. You can come, but let's have a constructive conversation. I'm very good at controlling conversations so that they don't go wayward in terms of, unnecessary, complaints that are not founded on in principle, but not to cartel, but more to say, look, you want to get your point across.
Let's substantiate.
Let's substantiate.
Yeah.
If you've got numbers there, let us share that, because it's only through consistent reporting that, key policymakers will actually get the message.
Is Mwelwa the analyst, Stu Mwelwa the analyst, or is Mwelwa the media guru?
Oh my.
Could this be a consultancy as well?
Jeez, you know what? I work with a lot of smart people.
Yeah.
I think we call ourselves the media machine. I remember when I gave my speech when I won the award at the first ever Capital Markets Awards, Conference and Awards.
Congratulations, I missed that one. Yeah.
Thank you so much. We got the double award for Best Media House reporting on capital markets, as well as Best Reporter. I don't do much reporting these days. I do a lot of conversations. I do stuff like this.
Yeah.
But I think, we have grown. I think I shared with you on the side that, we've introduced like a writing team.
Yeah.
There's certain things that we're experimenting with. This year alone, I think we launched what we call the Pulse, which is our offering to the market. It's an in-conference newspaper. It's groundbreaking. It's amazing.
Oh, right. Yeah.
We're going into conferences and, reporting and having something in print. It's also allowing us to showcase this various skill set, because the way we've assembled the team, we're getting, guys from university.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt, but does that include your international engagements as
Correct.
well? So it's not exclusively
It's not, yeah. So for example, and we've been fortunate. Our first assignment was a local conference, EFA. The second one was with our strategic partners, ProFlight, which was an aviation, which is an international one. It's the Southern African Aviation Association. Okay. Then we've also had another one, Power Electric, which is also an international one. There's an Indian entity there. I think it just goes to show that, our footprint, and this is one of the things that we've also done, where we've kind of had a balance, Zambian reporting as well as, regional, international sort of reporting. So eyeballs have been on FI to be that media company that is able to not only provide a platform, but be able to, produce media around events. Look, event reporting for us has been our baby, our cash cow.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that still has a lot of opportunity in terms of what can be done. For example, we always like to associate ourselves with the big international events. So come February, we're at Mining Indaba again. Mining Indaba for me is very personal, because that's where I was able to decode that there was opportunities around that. Yeah. There's a lot of commerce that's possible there around media. We've also affiliated with others in the energy space, like Africa Energy Forum, which is a huge one. Now they've even got smaller ones like the ZimZam, which we recently also produced a Pulse magazine. So Mwelwa, the analyst, I don't do much analysis now, but like I said, I do a lot of conversations. But when I do get to pen down a few things, I've got a few things to say. So
okay, so what does the Mwelwa, the analyst, have to say about a moment where your analysis meaningfully maybe changed the way a business leader organization works, and you've seen it, and it's something we should probably see more of?
Right. You know what? And again, when I look back at my journey, I think if there's one area that I feel had a lot of impact, and Jason Kazimani actually communicated that to me, was accurate and consistent reporting was one thing. I think we've downplayed the importance of that. You can imagine we picked a particular niche and we ran with it. We made it relevant to the point where we get recognized and we become award winners in it. Yes, we've expanded now to broadly report on, different, different segments of the economy, because obviously at the end of the day, you really want to have an overview of what's actually going on there. Being able to add to the discourse, I have seen, other media companies actually adopt our sort of approach, which I think has made me proud. Look, we've actually been more like trendsetters there. We don't look at them as competition, because like I said, look, we need our space, especially in Zambia, it needs everybody, all hands on deck. We do see trends where, for example, you're going to have an election next year. Keeping the conversation, focused will become extremely difficult, because the bulk of Zambian media will be obviously focused on that election, but businesses will still run. And one of the things that I think in the previous election cycle, what we were able to do was, just be consistent.
Good.
Capital markets reporting was still very important, and we still had followers. Next year will be a challenge, yes, but we're up to the task, and we're hoping that we'll actually push even more to say, no, look, let's continue focusing on business. It's important.
It is important. Lovely. Mwelwa, how do you choose, at this point, because you're quite niche, and obviously you've set the bar to a good standard that everybody is coming for, how do you actually choose which stories to tell when you're overwhelmed by demand?
You know what? We try to leave no story unturned. For example, the challenge of, for example, reporting around conferences. I think at our peak, we've been able to cover four conferences at the same happening simultaneously, and getting those stories out. One of the ways in which we've been able to achieve that is having a multi-platform sort of approach. So you will probably find that there's certain content that's getting pushed on Facebook, certain content which is being put. So it also requires us to take a step back. This one will be more relevant here. This one will be, not to say that we're cartelling, no, but we're trying to get as much of the information that we're able to gather out there into the public domain. It's not easy, but like I always tell my team, we don't do these things because they're easy. We do them because they're hard. And I know it's a bold statement, but we have realized that that is how you can create a sustainable sort of entity.
Great. You've got a team that's really growing, Mwelwa. I came here and I saw everybody dressed in FI t-shirts,
Media machine,
shirts,
yes,
the media machine. How has that growth worked for you? I can actually hear you saying we can cover more stories now, but how did you get there?
So, to start with, and it was a process of discovery. So I'll take you back now to 2022, when I first, it's actually 2022 when we first attended African Energy Forum.
Oh, yeah.
So when I went, because I was always like the lone wolf, I had an idea in terms of how I would service, and that was the first time we actually realized that we could, help several entities at the same time at one event. And then I realized that I couldn't really split myself, But then I had always had a passion for working with students, for the simple reason their minds are very curious. And I'd actually run my own personal sort of internship program, where I noticed earlier on that, a lot of our graduates in Zambia didn't really have the sort of exposure that we had. So I wanted to give back. So the first ones were the ones that actually started to write for FI. Now, and again, process of discovery, because eventually now when we got our first commercial contract with what's now known as Lusaka Music Radio, where they wanted us to do the news. I actually recruited the first intern to work with me.
Okay.
She was the one that was compiling the news, and she, up to date now, still compiles what we call the Daily Fizz. It's this exclusive email subscription for executives. She's, I think, got close to 1,000 executives, and she's so proud of it.
Great.
Credit to Natasha for the consistency there, because she reports every Monday through to Friday, doing this little brief for executives. But that was when I realized that I couldn't do it alone, because what that now did was, and it continues to do, it frees me up to now focus on driving strategy, looking out for new opportunities. So fast forward now from when Natasha comes on board, I brought in another lady, Elizabeth. So both of them are students. Gave them an opportunity now. I said, look, you want to build your career around capital markets? I'm giving you an opportunity now to report on it. So I'll give her data. So that's where the data analytics, because I used to analyze them myself, but then I also realized, and I still had a day job at the time. But now when I'm in it full time, I'm now like, okay, how do I make this work? And I realized that, getting good people around you, maybe some of them might just need to be shown the direction. I'm the kind of leader that leads from the front. I lead by showing, and I'm all in it. So when we executed that, that's when it showed me, said, hang on, I can't do this alone. But then, like I said, process of discovery, to the point where now, even I'm not hands-on in the writing program. Our CFO, Clarence Chongo, is heavily involved with that, and he's coming up with innovative ways of writing, which is super exciting. I've given them carte blanche to experiment with new tech around journalism. They look at various trends, look at different tools. That's exciting for me to watch. My job is simple, to be able to provide them with what they need and hopefully we can have a sustainable business model around it and enter the Pulse, which I think in 2026 is going to be one of the best products that we've ever had as FI.
The multiple products you're describing now, the brief for business executives, and all these other things that you're doing, are they all revenue generating, or are they platforms to amplify?
Yes, so it's a bit of both actually. So Pulse obviously is our recent one. We've done 5 Pulses. Our first one that has actually generated an invoice is our latest one. Remember, there's discovery and proving a concept. Again, being the pioneer, it's quite hectic, because we came up with this idea and then corporates like meh. But then again, you're in a market where a lot of entities want to see proof in the pudding. They want to actually see the actual product. But then where we've benefited is that because we're building platforms and being able to circulate it very quickly, they've realized the significance of it. But then sometimes it's also required us actually knowing who is our client. So initially we're thinking, oh, no, maybe it's the event organizers. Oh, no, maybe it is the corporates that want to advertise. But we're like, no, hang on. It will be an iterative process. It might not be the same client each and every time, depending on the sort of feature you want. Again, we've also been able to better understand why our followers follow us on various platforms. I always have these random conversations where when people walk up to me, oh, we love what you're doing. The first question is, how are you consuming it and why? Why? Exactly. So it allows us to better understand, but then it also allows me to see where the pain point, because I'm thinking, okay, you like LinkedIn, but then YouTube, for me, I think if there's a platform that really excites me, is YouTube. YouTube, I think for me, is like my favorite thing at the moment. We're growing it at rates that are quite interesting. Adding over 300 followers per month. That's incredible. It's on fire. Really it's on fire, and we're not even actively advertising that platform. It's just growing organically. And you might ask, like, why are we not pushing it? We want the product to be superior. We want the end product. Look, you see like some of the YouTube videos that come out like out of Europe, etc. Even when you're thinking monetizing content, you're like, you really want something that's crisp, clean, proper 4K. I know this is all jargon, but you and I both know the significance, and great sound as well. It
has to be worth it. Listen, you've come here, you've gotten to where you are not without having experienced challenges and tough moments.
Yeah.
What have those been like, and also what keeps you going?
Wow.
Especially as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, as an entrepreneur.
And also you're looking after quite a lot of people now.
Correct, yes. So there's quite a bit of an overhead there. But the truth of the matter is that entrepreneurship is not easy, but at the same time, getting people around you that buy into the idea. I've worked with so many people, and look, I'm talking about just starting up a pulse.
Absolutely,
and it's hard to ask a good writer to say, come and write articles. We don't know whether this is going to be marketable or not. But I think also it speaks to the kind of personality that I have. I've met a lot of people, some that have taken a liking to how I do things, how I present myself has been very important. Being consistent in who I am, being courteous, that has allowed for opportunities to actually come our way. But also, if there's one thing that I learned over time, especially through this growth trajectory, profit is overrated when you're growing a business.
Yeah.
It's working capital. Cash is king.
Cash is king.
Cash is king. And I think for many businesses that are starting out, if you don't get that formula right, it's tough. So meaning that the cash conversation has to be had to the point where, like, even with your cooperating partners, media is the kind of space where, and in Zambia, where like sometimes you have to build something and then they will come.
Yeah.
Now, if that's the case, when do they come? There's the in-between when one POP comes out, proof of payment, and another one. Sometimes you go 3 weeks, sometimes even 6 weeks. But then in between, being able to manage that in between. But then also agility. I talk about all these little products. I can actually share with you that I have actually started up like a product for the month. I just create a product because media is so broad that I've actually discovered that because different people, entities consume media differently or want to use it differently, it's actually encouraged me to be a bit experimental. So for example, when we came out with the short form videos, we didn't realize how powerful they were. We were seeing the trend going that way. One client actually loved those, and they asked us to create this. By coincidence, it came at a point in time where, their accounts were quite low, and they were able to think. So having like different multiple income streams also does help to kind of like hedge, especially when your overheads can be a wee bit higher. But again, it's all part of the journey of stabilizing, because after this now you will have your annual review. You actually see, okay, this we could have done better, this we could have done better. Truth be told, excuse me, the business cycle in Zambia is just crazy. I have now, at the helm of FI, I have now experienced 2 Q4s.
Oh yeah.
No one Q4 has been the same.
Right.
Every Q4 has shocked me. Just in the same way where in one period...
when you say shocked, you mean
as in shocked me like in terms of, where you have certain projections, and then all of a sudden different opportunities come. So you really can't be fixed.
Right.
We call ourselves as well media in motion. Financial Insight is media in motion. To the point where if I tell you the Q4, and it was a dream of mine to do corporate documentaries, like in remote locations.
Yeah.
We had a client that had us go to Kasemba.
Okay.
A place I'd never been to. And we took our gear there. We had drones flying all over. And I was doing interviews like in the thick, But for me, that was, so heartwarming. Like, it's possible. Before you know it, another entity will see us and, we would like something similar. You've had another product.
Yeah.
This is outfield, groundbreaking, ability, to deploy. So again, it's just the working capital cycle management is
that's tough.
It can be a tough one. But I mean, again, it also, and these things that we pick up, like I picked up on the MBA, where being able to have tough conversations, but also being able to, be forthright with your partners.
Okay.
Say, you know what, this thing that I'm doing is going to be great, but we're not too sure how revenue will be generated, but just stick with us. And being able to have partners, believe in you has also been very, very key.
That's been
so key. It's also enabled us, even in low cash seasons, to be able to produce content. I always like to tell my partners, like, the money will come.
The money will come.
The money will come. Yeah.
So is that what keeps you going then? It's the relationships you've built. They're
Correct.
the ones that just say, you know what?
Sure, in business, you can't run away from relationships.
No,
I
you
think,
can't, yeah.
Truth be told, relationships have played a huge part in our growth.
Yeah.
These are various relationships, be it supplier relationships, be it service provider relationships, be it even with the bank, relationships. You're falling behind in closing off your OD, and they give you that extra week of breathing space. That's been very, very important. So yeah, relationships, I think, for us have enabled us to do what
just keep going,
Absolutely.
keep going
Absolutely.
and building it.
Yeah.
What's next for Financial Insights that people should know?
That's a very good question. Trade secrets? No. No,
come on.
Okay, so I am super excited about the near term. I mean, going into 2026, we've had a fairly decent 2025. I must say, I think we got challenged. We introduced, new products. The Pulse, I think, for me, has been one of our proudest products, being able to deploy remotely as well. But then also being able to build teams. So we will see ourselves building a lot more remote satellite teams. We have a team now in Kenya that allows us to do East African coverage.
Lovely.
That was the team I was with at AfriSafe in Mombasa. The guys came all the way from Nairobi. So to any of the clients that want to deploy in Nairobi, just call Financial Insight. We have a team in Cape Town now. And also, I think for us, a huge thing was opening our Kitwe branch.
Good.
Yes, to service, to service the Copper Belt. I think the Kitwe office is different. There, we've got a lot of skin in the game. We own most of the gear there. But then also, the vision that we have there is, you've got to be in the copper heartland. I mean, copper makes up a bulk of, Zambia's fortune, as it were. So being there and being deliberate, like, look, we have presence. We're hoping to grow that offering there. I think at the moment, obviously, it's still baby steps. I like to think of it like, is this a new project? It's like Financial Insight, back in the day, because we're still trying to win over clients, because the Copper Belt clientele is fairly different, but they're embracive of media. We've attended a number of events, and I think the brand now is beginning to pick up there. So I'm very excited about that. We do want to get involved with more Northern Hemisphere events. So one of the events, for example, we were hoping to be at Davos, but unfortunately, application process, and then the timing as well, and it's pretty much at the start of when our calendar starts, because our flagship event has always been Mining Indaba. So we're at Mining Indaba. We're super excited. There's a couple of cool things that we'll be bringing to Mining Indaba. I'm carrying a much stronger team. I think now we've gotten comfortable in terms of the sort of quality we want to deliver for our partners, and thank you to our partners for supporting and believing in us. We will add on a few more international events. We're hoping to get into Congo. We were in Congo-ish, but things didn't really go. We tried to remotely do it, but this time around, Congo will witness the media machine. So this is the DRC Mining Week. So that one is also that I'm looking forward to. And just continue to support all the other conferences that we support, but then also more so introduce new Gen Z-centric capital markets reporting. I am very excited. We have a partnership with Pangea, and thanks to Caesar and his team for coming back. This is the second time we'll be doing it, but not in this way. So this one, I'm literally not even going to be involved. I'm trusting the Gen Z team. Yes, you've read to do it. So yes, I mean, I'm very excited about it because it also forms part of our sustainability plan. Imagine now young people now being inspired and learning a lot more about capital markets.
Absolutely.
I think that is, truth be told, if I were the SEC or Lusa, I'd be super excited about this because we're going to be very deliberate. I think we've built the capacity to actually do it, and even partnering with Pangaea, a blue chip,
Which is great.
a blue chip entity, makes it even better. So that's programming that I'm really excited about for next year.
I didn't hear you say anything about the next COP, but I'll leave that.
Well, the next one is in Turkey, so we'll probably be there as well. We've got a very good relationship with WWF Zambia. We're one of the unofficial media partners. I think they love the platform. They love to use us to get their message across.
Right.
So yes, being involved in reporting around ESG issues as well.
Yeah.
We've got a partnership with Wiggle Ventures. They've been doing a lot of work on the ESG side as well. So that we're going to intensify on that. But I'm very optimistic about the coming.
Optimistic.
Yes, we will be busy. We will be busy. Yeah.
So one thing we like to do at ZamPulse Chats is bestow you with the role of president of Zambia for just a day.
Okay.
What would you do to transform the industry? What would you want to shift, and how would you do it?
Wow. Wow. If I was president for a day, you know what? It's a little bit tricky because sometimes I feel like when you're a media person in private sector space, everybody with their problems in their sectors, etc. But I think if I were president for a day, I think if there's one thing that I keep on hearing about is the issue of licenses, the number of licenses that
the
businesses,
regulatory environment.
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Just making it a reality. Like a one-stop shop, one license, for businesses. I think that would ease. The truth of the matter is that I feel Zambia. I had a very interesting conversation just yesterday with a couple of friends when watching the final F1 for 2025, the Abu Dhabi one. And one guy actually said that, do you realize that all of us here are entrepreneurs in one way or another? I'm like, what do you mean? And then he's asked, you're keeping chickens, you are selling this, but everybody's in formal employment. And I'm like, oh, wow, okay. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So to address the concerns of ease of doing business, I think that'll be my biggest thing on my agenda for the day. Wouldn't be as radical as scraping off all the licenses, because you don't want to impact the various departments that depend on levies. But the truth of the matter is that I think that is something that's dear to me. It is something that needs to be addressed, and I'll make it priority one.
Lovely. It's been wonderful having you on ZamPulse Chats. We've tried to do this a few times, so thank you so much for actually hosting it, if anything.
Tchiyiwe, thank you so much. Mikasa Sukasa, the House of Financial Insight is also your house. And I'd just like to say thank you, for this conversation. Talking about myself, I don't really do it that often, and you really put me on the spot there, but I did enjoy this conversation, and I hope our viewers enjoy it, as well. And please do continue following Financial Insight. Absolutely do continue following Financial Insights. And as usual, ZamPulse Chats is here to broaden the scope of entrepreneurship. And we'll be speaking to Mwelwa Chibesakunda, the founder of Financial Insight Zambia. Thank you.